What if everything you thought you knew about the Bloodline was a lie? For years, Roman Reigns has stood at the center of WWE's most dominant faction, crowned the head of the table, the tribal chief, the unshakable leader of a dynasty built on power, loyalty, and fear. He wasn't just the face of the Bloodline, he was the Bloodline. But what if Roman Reigns was never supposed to lead it? What if the title of tribal chief was never his to claim, and someone inside the family has been holding back explosive proof, waiting for the perfect moment to expose the truth? That moment is now. Tonight, whispers that have haunted locker rooms and boardrooms alike are no longer whispers. They are roars of betrayal. Leaked messages. Private video clips. Audio files recorded in hushed tones behind closed doors, and at the center of it all is Solo Sikoa, the enforcer. The quiet storm. The brother who stood in Roman's shadow for years, only to now emerge with one mission. Destroy the myth of Roman Reigns and reclaim the legacy he believes was stolen from him. This is the story WWE never wanted you to hear. The story of stolen power, family manipulation, and a dark truth that could burn the Bloodline to the ground. According to sources deep inside WWE, Solo Sikoa has been gathering evidence for over a year. Not just suspicions, but cold, calculated proof. Evidence that Roman Reigns used his influence, connections, and personal leverage to steal the title of tribal chief, while Solo was being groomed by the elders to take that role himself. The truth, they say, begins long before Roman's title run, back when Solo was still finding his footing in NXT. Behind the scenes, members of the Anoa'i family were reportedly divided on who should carry the legacy forward. Roman was already a global star, a crossover icon. But others, including figures close to Alpha and Sika themselves, believed the future of the dynasty wasn't in Roman's hands, it was in Solo's. He had the raw aggression, the untouchable loyalty, and most importantly, the silence. Solo didn't seek cameras or headlines. He watched. He waited. And according to some, he was quietly told that when the time was right, the title of tribal chief would be passed to him, not to Roman. But before that promise could become public, Roman struck. An intercepted voice note, reportedly recorded in early 2020 during a private Zoom call between Roman and an unnamed WWE official, captures Roman saying the words, "We're not waiting. If they hesitate, I'll take it. There's no room for second guessing in this family." That file, according to Solo's inner circle, was just the beginning. Text messages between Roman and Paul Heyman, allegedly leaked last week, show a thread where Heyman discusses a timeline shift to ensure that Roman is publicly recognized as the tribal chief before the elders could formally bless Solo's rise. In the messages, Heyman refers to Solo as the threat and the wild card. But Roman's response is chilling: if he doesn't get in line, he'll fall in line. The Bloodline needs one voice. Mine. What followed next was one of the most brilliantly orchestrated power plays in WWE history. Roman returned from hiatus in mid-2020 and immediately began rebranding himself. No longer the babyface fighting the odds, now he was the one giving the orders. And behind the camera, Paul Heyman was making moves just as aggressive. According to insiders at WWE Creative, Paul lobbied heavily for Roman to be called tribal chief on screen before the elders had even discussed it within the family council. That title, which traditionally required ceremonial approval, was fast-tracked into Roman's character arc as if it had already been granted, but it hadn't. In a recently leaked voicemail sent from Solo's cousin in Samoa to a WWE producer, the voice is heard saying, he wasn't given the title. He took it. And no one said anything because they were scared. Scared of Roman. Scared of Heyman. Scared of what would happen if they opposed the juggernaut that WWE had just built around him. Meanwhile, Solo Sikoa remained silent, but not blind. He was watching. And according to reports, he was documenting everything: emails, video calls, meeting summaries, even backstage moments where Roman reportedly belittled or dismissed Solo's input, ensuring he never became more than just the muscle. But that wasn't always the plan. According to an anonymous source close to Jacob Fatu, Solo was initially intended to debut as a co-leader of a newer, more dangerous version of the Bloodline. A version where Roman Reigns served more as the figurehead, while Solo, the next generation, carried the legacy forward. That plan? Buried just weeks before Solo's official main roster debut, Roman is said to have called a meeting with Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman. What was discussed in that meeting remains sealed. But hours later, the creative plan changed. Solo would no longer debut as an heir. He would debut as an enforcer, the silent protector. Loyal. Obedient. Contained. But what no one accounted for was how Solo would play the long game. For over a year, Solo followed orders. He destroyed enemies. Took beatings. Protected Roman's title. Even turned on his own brothers, Jimmy and Jay, in moments that left fans stunned. But deep down, he was calculating, and when Roman took a hiatus after WrestleMania 40, Solo saw the opportunity. He began building his own circle of influence, recruiting Tama Tonga, and later Hikuleo. Together, they launched what many believed was just a new faction, but in reality, it was a counter-coup. Insiders now say Solo began leaking specific Bloodline materials to select journalists, but under strict NDA agreements, to build the foundation for a controlled exposé. His goal was not chaos, but revelation. Not destruction, but correction. He wanted the world to see who the real tribal chief was. In one recovered backstage recording, captured during an untelevised SmackDown in early 2024, Roman is overheard yelling at Solo in front of agents and security, "You don't lead. You don't talk. You protect me. That's your role. That's all it'll ever be." Sources close to Solo say that was the breaking point. He walked out of the building that night, and never looked at Roman the same way again. What followed was a series of subtle rebellions. Unscripted moments on live TV where Solo refused to acknowledge Roman. Looked away. Ignored orders. Fans thought it was storytelling. It wasn't. It was personal. This week, Solo's team released a confidential document, redacted but verified, showing a timeline of tribal meetings held in Samoa between 2017 and 2020. In those records, Solo is listed as primary candidate for succession within the Anoa'i legacy. Roman's name appears nowhere in the leadership discussions. Now the narrative is shifting. The once unshakable dominance of Roman Reigns is under siege, not from Seth Rollins or Cody Rhodes, but from within. From the family. From the blood. Paul Heyman has not commented publicly. WWE has declined requests for an official statement, but in a cryptic tweet now deleted, Heyman wrote, "Loyalty is complicated. And history is written by those who act first. And Solo has acted. He's no longer the silent enforcer. He's no longer waiting for a title that was denied. He's reclaiming it, with footage, messages, and the support of family members who now say the wrong brother took the throne." But the question remains, was Roman Reigns ever truly the tribal chief, or was he just the loudest one in the room? And if Solo Sikoa truly has the receipts, what happens next? The fallout has already begun. Within WWE headquarters, conversations that were once silent are now unavoidable. Executives, agents, even veteran superstars. All are privately acknowledging a truth they dared not speak aloud for years. Roman Reigns may have fabricated his legacy, and Solo Sikoa? He's no longer playing defense. He's preparing to dismantle the kingdom. More leaks have emerged in recent days. The most damning of all? A private video recording, grainy, handheld, but unmistakably real. It shows a closed-door meeting in Tampa in early 2022. Around the table, Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Jimmy So, and Solo. The footage, allegedly filmed by a now-fired production assistant, captures a moment of tension between Roman and Solo. Roman is seen pacing, arms crossed, while Solo sits, arms folded, unmoved. Then, Roman says, "You want the seat? You think you're ready for the wait? You can't even speak on camera. You don't get the head of the table by blood. You take it. And I already did." Solo doesn't respond. But the silence speaks volumes. This moment, buried for over 2 years, now stands as the smoking gun. A confession. A threat. A man so obsessed with power, he's willing to erase his own family to protect his image. But it wasn't just Roman's words. It was his actions. The second leak, This time an email thread between WWE's upper creative team and Paul Heyman shows Roman demanding that Solo be kept out of championship contention, even in storyline. Roman's exact words: "He's a soldier, not a general. Keep him in his lane. No title shots. Ever." That directive, allegedly enforced through Paul Heyman and backstage producers, explains what fans have questioned for years: why Solo, with his dominance, athleticism, and lineage, was never given a title push. Because the one man who could threaten Roman's throne was being caged. But now the cage is open. Sources say Solo's team, a mixture of family confidants, lawyers, and former WWE creatives, is preparing a multi-platform release of everything: the files, the messages, the footage. Not just to the wrestling press, but to major media outlets. ESPN, Vice, even Netflix, who have reportedly expressed interest in documenting the Bloodline power war as a potential docuseries. This isn't just a wrestling feud anymore. This is a power struggle that echoes the themes of betrayal, legacy, and lies, unfolding in real time before millions of fans. And yet, Roman Reigns remains silent. No statement. No promo. No tweet. Nothing but silence. In the world of the Bloodline, is never just silence. It's a signal. Insiders say Roman is working behind the scenes to contain the fallout. Quiet meetings with WWE legal. Long phone calls with Paul Heyman. Private visits to family elders in Samoa, trying, perhaps, to salvage what's left of his narrative. But it may already be too late. According to sources close to the Usos, both Jay and Jimmy are emotionally torn, caught between loyalty to Roman and empathy for Solo. The family, once united in dominance, is now fractured at its core. And then, there's the wildcard: Jacob Fatu, the silent lion who has yet to take a public stance. But sources say Jacob was one of the first to hear Solo's evidence, and one of the last to speak with Roman before the leaks began. The conversation, described by a family member, ended in a single sentence from Jacob: "You made him your bodyguard when he was born to be your brother." Those words have reportedly haunted Roman ever since, because Jacob, unlike anyone else, commands fear and respect within the family. If he speaks out, if he sides with Solo, Roman's reign may end not in glory, but in disgrace. And now, the WWE Universe is watching, not with excitement, but with suspicion. Every promo, every stare down, every moment of silence between Bloodline members is dissected like evidence in a criminal case, because fans are no longer just cheering. They're investigating, and they want answers. Who gave Roman the right to call himself the tribal chief? Why was Solo silenced for so long? And what does Paul Heyman really know? In a chilling voice memo leaked to a wrestling podcast, an unnamed former WWE writer recalls an off-air moment where Roman, backstage after a SmackDown taping, said, "If the crowd ever doubts me, we're done. I don't need facts. I need belief." But that belief is shattering, and with Solo's rise, fans are no longer asking if the title was stolen. They're asking when it will be taken back. In the final minutes of last week's SmackDown, as Solo stood in the ring, flanked by Tama Tonga and Hikuleo, he didn't say a word. He didn't need to. The camera zoomed in. He raised his hand, and on his thumb was the Samoan tribal ring, the one once worn by Afa, later seen on Roman's finger during his ascension. But now, it's on Solo. The message was clear: the crown has already been claimed, and Roman Reigns may just be a king without a throne. Behind the scenes, WWE officials are said to be in crisis mode, not because of kayfabe, not because of match results or declining ratings, but because a real-life storm is brewing, and it's fueled by a man they never expected to defy the Empire: Solo Sikoa. Insiders now say that weeks before Roman Reigns' unexpected return to SmackDown, Solo was quietly preparing to release a video confession, a direct message to the WWE Universe, not in character, but as Joseph Fatu, the man behind the Enforcer. The video, which has not yet been published but reportedly exists in two versions, one for release and one for legal defense, is said to begin with a simple phrase: "You crowned the wrong chief." What follows, according to a source who viewed the raw cut, is an emotional breakdown of the timeline. Dates, screenshots, tribal council summaries, audio clips where elders questioned Roman's aggression, his media persona, and his failure to earn the tribal respect he claimed. One of the most jarring moments in the unreleased video? A segment where Solo holds up the original ceremonial beads used to bless the true heir to the Anoa'i leadership. Not replicas. Not props. But the real ancestral beads, passed down through generations, and Roman never wore them because Roman, as revealed in Solo's own words, was never given the right. He was never formally recognized by the elders. The televised moment when Jey Uso crowned Roman in 2020, it was staged. The WWE production call sheet from that night, dated August 28, 2020, included the line "Jey acknowledges Roman as tribal chief on cue. Timing matters. Emotional reaction expected." To the world, it looked like a brother submitting to power. To insiders, it was a scripted coronation with no ancestral legitimacy, and Solo never forgot. He didn't speak then. He didn't act out. Because he knew, this kind of betrayal could only be avenged one way, with truth, not tantrums. That truth is now echoing through the Anoa'i family. Multiple cousins, previously silent, are now aligning behind Solo. Whispers in Samoa say that a private video call between family elders last week ended with a bold statement from one of the matriarchs: "He who leads with fear will fall to the one who leads with respect." Some are interpreting this as a symbolic dethroning of Roman, even if WWE has not acknowledged it publicly. Paul Heyman, meanwhile, has gone dark. The man once known as the Wise Man hasn't appeared on Raw or SmackDown in 2 weeks. Sources claim he's pulled from creative meetings. One insider said he's distancing himself. If Roman goes down, Paul doesn't want to be holding the blade. But fans aren't buying it. In online forums, clips of Paul Heyman subtly manipulating family decisions, backroom deals, and even tribal verbiage are resurfacing. Did he orchestrate Roman's rise, or was he merely enabling the theft of a throne? Either way, the clock is ticking, because now, it's not just Solo who wants answers. It's the WWE Universe, and Roman Reigns is feeling the heat. At a recent untelevised WWE house show, Roman was reportedly booed for the first time during a tribal chief promo. Not the playful boos of a heel champion. These were different, they were personal. Fans chanted, "That's not yours." Others shouted, "We want Solo." One sign in the front row read, "Stolen legacy equals empty throne." The era of blind acknowledgement is over, and yet, Roman hasn't responded. No Instagram posts. No backstage footage. No new merch. No defiant messages. Why? Because, according to sources, Roman is not strategizing for a storyline battle, he's preparing for war. Insiders claim he's assembling a new private circle within WWE. Not just security. Not just family. But legal advisors. PR handlers. Former allies, because if Solo's vault goes public, if the emails, the timeline, the backstage recordings hit the surface, Roman's legacy as the tribal chief may collapse forever, but the war may be closer than we think. Word is, WWE SummerSlam may be the stage for the final confrontation. A match not built on titles or brand supremacy, but on identity. A bloodline civil war. Solo Sikoa vs Roman Reigns, not for gold but for the truth, for the right to wear the ring. To lead the family. To be called tribal chief, because the throne is no longer protected by silence. The evidence is out, the files are real, and Solo is ready to finish what Roman started, with betrayal. The only question now is, will Roman admit to the theft before the whole world hears it, or will he go down clinging to a crown that was never his? The choice is his, but the reckoning? That belongs to Solo Sikoa. SummerSlam was supposed to be the final battleground, the moment where truth would rise, lies would fall, and the world would finally know who truly deserved the title of tribal chief. But what happened inside that stadium didn't end the war, it escalated it, because what unfolded wasn't a clear victory, it was a bloodbath. Roman Reigns returned that night, not with grace, not with humility, but with fury. He walked into the arena cloaked in silence, eyes colder than ever, flanked not by Paul Heyman, but by a new silent presence, a massive Samoan figure whose identity is still unknown. And Solo Sikoa? He didn't wait. He charged into the ring not as Roman's cousin, but as his executioner. The crowd was electric. Chants of "You stole it" shook the arena. Solo stood tall, holding the ancestral beads high above his head. Roman looked on, unmoved, and then came the moment, the stare down. Roman raised the microphone and finally, broke his silence. You think a few texts and rumors make you worthy? I made the bloodline. I am the one they feared. I'm the one they followed. You're not the heir. You're the cleanup crew. The crowd erupted in boos, but Solo didn't flinch, and when the match bell rang, it wasn't a wrestling match. It was a purge. Steel chairs. Headbutts. Bare fists. This wasn't about gold. It was about betrayal, punishment, and punishment returned. The match ended in chaos. Both men bloodied. Security rushing the ring. The bell never rang again. No winner, but after the cameras cut, something happened. Fans with cell phones caught it. Backstage, amid the storm of agents and medics, Roman Reigns collapsed to one knee, clutching his side, gasping for air, whispering something to Paul Heyman, who had just returned to the scene. Lip readers online believe Roman said, "I can't hold it much longer. They're turning on me." And he was right. In the days since SummerSlam, the fallout has been immediate and brutal. WWE management has reportedly held emergency creative meetings. One source says they're scrambling to find a resolution, not to a storyline, but to a real family fracture that is spilling over into live broadcasts, because Solo Sikoa is no longer waiting for approval. He's declared himself tribal chief, both on-screen and behind the scenes, and with that declaration came the next leak. An encrypted Dropbox folder, shared anonymously with two top wrestling journalists, containing over 30 private files, among them, screenshots of private family group chats where Roman dismisses Solo as a pawn, footage of Solo being physically restrained by WWE agents during a 2023 backstage meeting after confronting Roman about the tribal title, a voice recording from Jacob Fatu stating, "They gave him the title to protect business. But it was never blessed by us. Never. These aren't rumors anymore, these are receipts." And Paul Heyman, his name appears in nearly every file, emails where he refers to Solo as a contingency asset. Drafted memos to WWE creative about controlling Solo's image before he becomes a threat. Even one terrifying quote from Paul in a voice memo, "The moment Solo figures it out, we'll need to neutralize him." That moment has come, and Solo hasn't just figured it out, he's weaponized it. He now walks to the ring with the tribal necklace around his neck. Not the one Roman wore, but the original one passed down from the elders. Stolen? No. It was given to him by one of the few family members who still remembers the truth. This week, Jacob Fatu finally made his choice. In a thunderous SmackDown moment, Jacob walked down the ramp. Roman stood in the ring. Solo stood beside the announce table, and without a word, Jacob turned his back on Roman, walked past him, and embraced Solo. The crowd exploded. Roman's eyes burned. The bloodline was now divided, and WWE? They have no choice but to let it play out. Because trying to script over reality doesn't work anymore. The truth is louder than the promos, and the fans smell it. Roman Reigns, once worshipped as the indestructible tribal chief, now stands alone. No Heyman. No brothers. No cousins. No followers, just silence. Meanwhile, Solo Sikoa, backed by Jacob Fatu, the ancestral elders, and the weight of generational betrayal, now commands a following that no longer sees Roman as a leader, but as a thief. And this war, it's not over. It's just beginning, because the next battle won't be fought in the ring. It'll be fought in courtrooms, documentaries, legacy books, and family meetings where the past will be dug up like buried bones. And as for the fans, they're no longer chanting, "Acknowledge me." They're chanting, "Reclaim the throne." The world watched as the empire cracked. Roman Reigns, once untouchable, now stands on the edge of a legacy in free fall. Solo Sikoa has seized not just the spotlight, but the very soul of the bloodline. Jacob Fatu walks beside him. Paul Heyman has vanished into silence, but as the dust settles from SummerSlam, the real trial begins, not in a courtroom, not in a match, but in Samoa, where the elders have convened. For the first time in decades, a private tribal council has been summoned. The agenda is clear: determine the rightful holder of the tribal chief title, and address the accusations of betrayal, theft, and dishonor that now threaten the Anoa'i dynasty. Sources say this council, composed of family elders and bloodline advisors, includes not just former wrestlers and trainers, but respected chiefs, men and women who trace their wisdom through generations. And Roman has been called to testify. A leaked text message shows the invitation he received. The title must be defended with more than fists. It must be defended with truth. Roman has not responded publicly, but insiders say he will attend, reluctantly. Because for the first time in his life, he's not walking into a ring, he's walking into judgment. Meanwhile, Solo is preparing something far more dangerous than a match. According to those close to his camp, Solo is working with a documentarian to produce a full-length exposé, The False Crown. A film said to include never-before-seen footage of Roman's early rise, fabricated blessings, and internal family messages questioning his leadership, long before he ever held the Universal title. The documentary is said to feature voiceovers from Jacob Fatu, the Usos, and, shockingly, Sika Anoa'i, Roman's own father. One quote from Sika, as leaked online: "I told him to lead with heart. He chose to lead with fear. That is not our way." If this footage is real, Roman's image won't just fracture, it'll implode. And WWE? They're scrambling to keep pace internally. Executives are weighing their options. Some argue the company should pivot fully and rebrand Solo Sikoa as the face of the bloodline. Others want to slow-roll the truth, to protect Roman's market value. But fans aren't waiting. They've already chosen. Solo Sikoa is now trending nightly. Merch sales for Roman's tribal chief gear have plummeted. New designs featuring rightful heir and Return the Crown are already being spotted in arenas, and in a move that has stunned even longtime insiders, Jey Uso has returned, not to Roman, not to Jimmy, but to Solo. Last week on Raw, Jey stepped into the ring during Solo's promo, looked him dead in the eyes, and slowly lowered his head. He acknowledged him. It was a moment that sent the crowd into a frenzy, and Roman, reportedly watching from backstage, into a rage. Security says Roman left the building early, without speaking to anyone. Privately, he's said to be reaching out to family elders, asking for intervention. But it's too late, the council has already decided. According to a source who attended the closed-door session, the elders have requested both Roman and Solo appear at the sacred burial site in Samoa, the ancestral grounds where tribal titles are confirmed and passed. It's not for a show, it's not for the fans, it's for the truth. The meeting is set for 30 days from now. If Roman fails to appear, the title will be formally stripped, not by WWE, but by the lineage itself. And Solo, he's already packed. He's not going to fight, he's going to take back what was always his. But what no one knows is what Roman will do. Will he accept the council's judgment? Will he deny everything? Or will he strike first? Because the night before he vanished from public view, Roman left behind a cryptic message on his private account: "If they want war, I'll give them something they'll never forget." No one has seen him since, but rumors are swirling. Some say he's headed to Samoa early, others claim he's planning a televised ambush. One unconfirmed source suggests Roman is preparing a final offer to dismantle the bloodline permanently before Solo.